Thelema Coast to Coast, Show 43, October 6th, 2007. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Welcome to Thelema Coast to Coast. My name is John Crow, and I'm the host of the show. Before getting into the show, I'd like to remind the listeners there are 4 ways to contact it. First is via the web at www.thelemacoasttocoast.com. Second is via email at podcast@thelemacoasttocoast.com. Third is via voicemail at 206-350-1897. And the fourth way is via MySpace at www.myspace.com/Thelema Coast to Coast. Notice the mailing address is no longer valid. Why? Because I'm now moved and settled in Amsterdam, so my P.O. box in the U.S. will be of little use to me. As such, the postcard promotion is at an end too. I think I mailed out the stickers to all those who sent postcards before I left in August, and if I didn't, I apologize. There's little I can do about it now. Also, at the time of the move, I changed the website to a simpler format, that of a blog, because my hosting was changing and I wanted to make the interface a little easier. Those familiar with the WordPress application will recognize the format. Feel free to go to the site and leave comments. Feedback is always appreciated. I hope to add more functionality to the site in the near future. Also, I plan to be answering listener mail right on the site itself, although I'll be refraining from using any names other than maybe the first name or so, like I have done on the podcast in the past. This doesn't mean I won't be answering listener mail on the podcast also, but I think this is just an added feature of the new format. As I mentioned before, I'm now moved and settled in Amsterdam and in my classes, and the material is fascinating. I really will not be mentioning it much on the show, but I write often on my blog about it, which is at www.thelema.nu. That can also be reached at thelema.com, thelema.us, thelema.info, and thelema.biz. There you can find essays about Thelema, Crowley, magic, my school, and my personal thoughts and more. It's updated a lot more than the podcast, so I encourage people to go out and check out my blog and interact on it. Also, there'll be links to pictures and other things. I have a Flickr account that I add lots of pictures to, so you can get a more visual idea of what's going on in Amsterdam and my schooling also. So, I'm finally glad to get the new show out to you all. It's been just over 3 months. I want to thank all those who sent emails and messages on MySpace and encouraging the next show. The continued support is really appreciated. Because things are just getting reestablished, I'm not going to be reading any listener mail today, but encourage the sending of it. Also, use voicemails. I love getting them. Now, because of the move, I have changed my primary interview system. I'm now using Skype a lot more than the phone. The good news is that the guest does not sound like they're in a tunnel, and, usually. But my microphone, unfortunately, is a bit problematic. I'm going to be working on this, but in the meantime, I apologize for the high pitch my voice carries in the interviews. Speaking of the interviews, I have 3 for this show. First is with Niki Hughes. She is one of the organizers for the UK Gnosis festival taking place at the end of November. She tells us about the origin of the Thelemic festival and what it's all about. Then I have a discussion with Keith 418 about Thelema. Is it a religion? And if not, what is it? And lastly, an interview with David Rankine about the new Golden Hoard book, The Goetia of Dr. Rudd. We talk about the book, Goetia, and much more. I hope this revival show will have something interesting for everyone. So without further ado, here is Niki to tell us about the Gnosis Festival.
We have Niki Hughes on the phone. Niki is a volunteer organizer for Gnosis, a Thelemic gathering that takes place in Northumberland, England. Are you there, Niki?
I am.
Welcome to the podcast, 93.
93.
So, for those who don't know about Gnosis, and I have to admit, I've only learned about this recently, this is a Thelemic gathering that's been going on a number of years in England. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about how this got started and what takes place?
Sure. We got started about 5 years ago. My husband and I were visiting another group of Thelemites in Sweden, and we spent a most wonderful weekend away there. And we'd gone up to the top of a very rickety tower, and there was a group Samic, and we were just standing at the top of the tower after the ritual, just taking in the ambience of the whole thing, and we were just like, we really, really want to take this out to a much wider community. We don't want people to have to travel all the way to Sweden to get this. And that's when the idea for Gnosis was born. The following November, we ran our first Gnosis. And what we do there is we just get people who are like-minded together, and we have rituals, workshops, loads of food, loads of dancing and events. And we have a fantastic storyteller who comes along and tells us marvelous stories about whatever the theme for that year is. Each year we kind of try and theme it along sort of to Thelema and something else. So the first year was like Thelema and ritual magic. And we really sort of explored the Gnostic Mass and a lot of the basic Thelemic rituals. We've also done Thelema in Egypt, where we had all kinds of different Egyptian cooked dishes, and we had Egyptian belly dancing. So that's kind of what it's about.
And what's this year's theme?
This year's theme is Devilish Delights. So we're hoping to do things on the Dune. We're also hoping to do some stuff on the Goetia. And we're also trying to sort of get a really carnival theme going for this year. As you might know, if you look at the Thelemic year, it's 415, so it's the Emperor and the Devil, and that's where the Devilish Delight comes from.
Well, that sounds very, very good. Now, this is a Thelemic gathering. Is this associated with any particular group?
No, we have people from all kinds of backgrounds come along. While most of the people there would define themselves as Thelemites, we even have people who just have no interest in that kind of thing, or even any interest in magic, turn up just for the sake of the mass ball and the fact that you're basically getting to stop in a 13th century castle in England and have the most fantastic time, meet some really interesting people, and we've been so lucky to have just a really, really friendly group every year. We've not really had any trouble with people coming in and just, destroying the ambience. So it's mostly about just meeting friends and about the current, rather than it being, like, we are Thelemites and you will do as we say.
Okay. Now, you just said it was a 13th century castle. What castle is this?
The castle's called Featherstone Castle. You can look it up on the internet, just stick it in Google, and you'll see that it was originally built, as I said, in the 13th century. And the gun room, where we do most of our events on the Friday night, where the storytelling takes place, that's part of the very original part of the castle, and it's been extended all the way through, right up into the early 1800s. And there's so many fabulous rooms in it. It was previously used as a boarding school just before the current owner bought it. And you've got a lot of dorm rooms that people sleep in. It's youth hostel style accommodation. So, don't come expecting to sleep in a palace. And you've got 3 massive rooms that we do the events in. You've got the gun room downstairs, which is just filled with sofas and has a gigantic fireplace where we have a huge roaring fire for the whole weekend. You've got the blue room, which is blue, strangely enough, and beautifully decorated on the ceiling with all this sort of wood paneling. And then you've got a ballroom, which is sort of the biggest room in the castle, which we can use for the large ritual events.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the logistics. What is the date of Gnosis?
Gnosis this year is starting on Friday the 23rd of November, and it'll run right through to Sunday the 25th, leaving Monday morning, Monday the 26th.
All right. And
we don't actually run anything on the Monday morning. That's just for packing up and cleaning up and getting out.
Right.
But you're welcome to stay over.
And how much does it cost to attend?
It's £80.
Okay.
And that includes all of your accommodation and all of your food.
Okay, so you don't have to really bring anything. You just kind of show up with your stuff.
Yourself, some alcohol. We don't have a license, so bring your own alcohol.
Oh, it is BYOB. Okay. And you said you're supplying the food. I assume there's different kinds of meals, vegetarian or vegan, things like that.
We cater to absolutely everything. I mean, vegans with nut allergies, that's fine, you know. So long as you let us know before you come, we will cater for absolutely anyone.
All right. And when does it start on Friday? At what time?
You can arrive any time after 6 p.m., and the rituals and that kind of thing usually kick off around 10.
Uh-huh. And then you said it goes till Monday morning, so you probably get out 10 or 11 Monday morning.
Yeah, we have to be out of the castle by 12 o'clock.
Okay. And for those who are outside of England who would be flying in, is there assistance to them for transportation or anything like that?
What we normally do is if you get in contact with us by email, then we'll set you up. If you're coming from abroad, quite often people don't just want to come on Friday and go on Monday, so we'll find you someone to stop with and tell you where your nearest airport is, things like that. And we'll arrange lifts with people who are coming from nearby. We don't run a minibus or anything.
Right.
But the castle's not difficult to get to. You can get there by rail quite easily.
Oh, okay. And about how many people show up every year?
We usually have we've had between 30 and 50 most of the years we've run it.
Uh-huh.
I think it's actually about 48 was our maximum, and we need 30 to run the event. So
okay.
That's our minimum.
And this year, how many, do you have a number of people that have already prepaid? Does it look like it's going to be a very good number?
I mean, this year we've got, given that normally around this time we don't see many deposits or anything like that, we're doing really well this year. We've got nearly 20 people booked up saying they're definitely going to come, and we've got, that's, actually paid us money, and we've got another 10, 15 people who seem very interested.
And is there a deadline to RSVP and or pay your fees?
Sorry?
Is there a deadline when people need to pay or inform you they're attending?
We want everyone paid up by the end of October if at all possible, but if you don't find out you can come until October 5th, we're not that strict. Send us your money.
Okay. All right, well then, if people wanted to attend or have any questions or anything, how should they get in touch with you?
Best way would be to email us. Our email address is Gnosis, that's GNOSIS, at Gnostic Gnomes, GNOSTIC GNOMES.com.
All right, and I'll put that in the show notes. Well, is there anything else that people should know about Gnosis?
Just that it's the most fun you can have with either your clothes on or off, and we have had plenty of both at the castle, and that we've had the most positive feedback of it from all the attendees we've had in the past. So I think that if you do come, you will have a fantastic and memorable time.
Well, great. Well, thanks for being on the podcast and letting people know. In the past, the podcast has been generally North America centric. So I wanted to make sure that since I'm here in Europe, that I let people know more about what's going on in Europe.